We are live. Hello, everybody. Jason Wilmot here. Today is Mastering Funnels podcast number 16. The date is November 8th, 2022. I hope everybody is doing well when you are either watching this or listening to this. So, exciting podcast today, at least in my opinion. We're going to get into customer acquisition using digital marketing. And today is going to be a little bit more of a blended approach. I'm very much a fan of using paid ads and acquisition systems and using, the ROI to just kind of ramp up what's working. But what I want to do is I want to throw content marketing into this and how we can leverage the platforms that exist to really test our videos for us or our ads for us prior to putting money behind them. So, hello to those folks who are watching already, and hello to those who are listening at this. If you have a question, go ahead and throw it in the comments, and then I will get to it. But the title of today's podcast is seven steps to scale your digital marketing acquisition. Remember, acquisition is purely the event of getting the customer, getting the buyer, the user. There's a lot of ways to scale your business after that using referral systems and everything, kind of beyond the acquisition point. But today, what we're going to be talking about is purely, how do you put video in front of folks and then know if it's working or not? So, 7 steps to scaling your digital marketing acquisition. If you have a question on any one of those, go ahead and drop it in the comments and then we will get rolling. So, we are going to start off with the number one, though. The first step is to make sure, and this is fundamental, but it is making sure that your offer is clear. Just because you have something to sell, just because you have a service, just because you have something that you want to give to the market, really, this is fundamental when it comes to everything that every component of growth really depends upon the offer. And what I specifically mean around that is what are these elements of the offer that are going to get somebody to move the needle. And a lot of times what we're talking about here is we have to test the language that we're using when it comes to the offer. So before you go out and film a bunch of ads, film a bunch of content, start putting money behind your ads or putting money behind your efforts, cutting video and all of that other stuff, you really have to make sure that your offer is sound. And what I mean by that is first of all, the language around your offer needs to be clear. Are you presenting somebody with an opportunity or is this an improvement, right? Ideally, this is an opportunity for them or a new opportunity to help them get to where they want to be. I've said this many times before, and this is borrowed language, but really what we're talking about in terms of when we're trying to help people with our offer, we have to understand where they are and then where they want to be. Your offer is sort of the bridge that connects those, right? You're empathizing with somebody. You're understanding where they currently are, whether it's the problems that they have or the gains that they're trying to make. You understand that, and you're empathizing with them because you've been there or you've talked to enough of these folks that you know your solution can actually work. So from here, with that empathy, what you're doing is you're building language to say, "Hey, I know where you are trying to get to. I know where you are trying to move." And that is where this bridge comes involved. So your service, your offer, that is the bridge to help them from where they are to where they want to be. And we really need to bake that into our language. And so what I mean by your offer is really that's positioning how your offer is going to help folks. Maybe it is around their pain that they're currently existing or they're seeing or they're experiencing, but then also it could be something about their desired gain. Maybe it's not about pain at the moment. Maybe they want more time. Maybe they want more money. Maybe they want more freedom. What it is, maybe they want to scale their team or scale, like there's a lot of different aspects to this offer. We can't always present it in the same way. And then that is why I always say, hey, let's split test this offer. Let's understand like that we can present this offer a little bit differently. Now, ultimately, there's a lot of other pieces involved in your offer that you can dive into, whether it's the language, whether it's the scarcity, if there's something timely involved with it. That is, that's all worth testing. But at the end of the day, hopefully before you go out and film all this content or create this or hire somebody to do this or start spending money and giving it to the ad platforms, hopefully you've done a little bit of research and understanding what that offer is, what it could be, and sort of what resonates with people. Ideally, before you start spending money online, before you start putting a lot of effort into this, this has been sold, already. This has been delivered. You know that you can provide these services. This is a lot of elementary stuff, but you would not believe that, um, you know, that some people don't get past this. Really, when it comes to running ads and comes to using content marketing, a lot of folks see this as sort of a panacea. So if we just turn on ads, if we just put out content marketing, then our offer for some reason is going to stick. And really, when it comes to online marketing, there's really two elements at the end of the day. Is one, you have to have good ads, but then those ads have to end with a good offer. And if the offer is off, it doesn't matter how good the ads are going to be, it doesn't matter how much money you spend, the offer still stinks at the end of the day, then you're not going to get to move the needle. So really the two components are the ads and the offer, but the offer always comes first. And make sure that this offer has been utilized, pre-sold, that you can deliver on it, all of this, the components of, I don't know, doing good business. So really before we ever get started in sort of the next steps, the foundational principle of all of this is you have to have a good, clean offer that makes sense to people. So number two, what is the second step of scaling up your digital acquisition? That is setting a data layer. So regardless of whether we're going to be sending in ads or content marketing or email marketing or whatever it is, PPC, we have to have this foundational element of data. So again, this is something that we've talked about before. Really, how you leverage this is something through your analytics. Maybe it's Google Analytics. We have pixels involved with this. We have UTM and architecture involved. And then we nest sort of all of this inside of Google Tag Manager. So if you have a website, what we need to do is we need to make sure that we have those analytics embedded onto the website. So really, we have the system that is collecting the data, but more importantly, it's collecting the data regarding the things that we want to measure. So if you're a SaaS company, you want somebody to sign up for that 2-week free trial, then that is the KPI. That is a conversion event that you're really trying to establish in your data. If you are booking phone calls, if you've got like a Calendly link, what you're trying to do is understand, or you're trying to fire this event of when somebody actually books a meeting with you. And then in e-com, it's very easy. Did somebody buy or did somebody not? But then there's other little events that happen beyond that. Did they add something to their cart? Did they actually look at a product? Did they add their credit card info, their shipping info? All of these little metrics sort of indicate the journey along the way. So we have to have this data infrastructure in place. Now, typically what we do when we work with clients or we're doing in our own projects, I nest everything inside of Google Tag Manager. So Google Tag Manager is just this container that sits on your website. And Google Tag Manager is the spot where you can then put in or host or store or nest a lot of different tracking elements. That's where we put our Google Analytics. That is where we put our TikTok pixels or our Facebook pixels or our Google remarketing tag. So the nice thing about hosting all of this inside of a Google Tag Manager container is when you identify what those events are, if somebody is clicking on something, if somebody is visiting a page, you can set those rules in Google Tag Manager to send the events to all of your systems all at once. It's a very clean, simple way of making sure that that lone event fires, but then it's sent to everything. And so what those events are, like I said before, is somebody buying, somebody booking a phone call, somebody setting up a 2-week free trial. And then that event is then sent to your analytics so that you're understanding, well, where are the clicks coming that are actually resulting in this event or this conversion? And then also what we're doing is we're sending that event data back to the ad platforms if you're running ads, and that tells the ad platforms which ads or which campaigns or which ad groups are actually moving the needle for you because you have that conversion data on your back end. So one of the things, though, that I think we ought to also consider is let's pretend for a moment, though, that we're not using paid ads at all. Let's just say that we're using content marketing. We're putting out a lot of content. How does that play into this? Well, ideally, if you're using if you're using content marketing, what you're trying to do is you're trying to leverage each social platform as its own mini funnel. And really what we need to understand is how do people leave that platform and then get on to our website or our landing page? Ideally, there's something like a link in bio, or if there's a link tree, something like that, where we're directing clicks from the platforms to the link tree, and the link tree comes then to the website. Now, there's a lot of other tools out there called link tree, but I like to say link tree because I think most people are familiar with that. If you're on like a platform like TikTok and somebody swipes to your bio, and in your bio or on your profile, there's that link. That is really the method that we can then send the data to the website. So we don't just want to send something to the website without a string of characters attached. What we want to do is either use a UTM in that, and that will send the data to our website. Nonetheless, if you use something like a UTM, that's going to be really long and kind of unsightly in your LinkedIn bio. So what you might want to do is just like nest that in sort of a short link URL. A short link URL idea would be the example of bit.ly, but I'm not going to click on a link that starts with bit.ly. So you might want to buy your own short link URL. In this case, we have HACKTICS.link. And then what I do is I have this link shortener tool where I just paste that UTM in there, and then it spits out a short URL, and I put that in the bio. And so that'll allow me, those short URLs are going to allow me to understand the traffic coming from different platforms. So ideally, I want to use one different for TikTok, one different in my YouTube descriptions, one different in our Instagram bio. And so as those organic clicks come in, we can see how those organic clicks are converting or not converting on our website. And that gives you a good indication of where is all the traffic coming from to my website. And again, that's organic. And that is sort of the trick here. I don't think most people understand UTM tracking architecture for organic marketing because they're probably only applying it to paid ads, if they're applying it at all. And so if you apply that to your ads, why would you not want to also apply that to your social content? So that's a bit of a tip out there. Trying to nest those long UTM links inside of a short link, and then try to use a unique short link kind of for wherever that people are coming from on your or on the social platforms that you're putting out this content on. So I know that's probably a little more detail might be needed on that, but I don't think that we're not going to get into that because it's really something that needs to be shown. But that's the goal, right? If you just link to your website in your bio, when you're looking at your analytics, right? If you just link to your analytics in your bio without adding UTMs, when you go into your analytics, what you're going to see is just these referrals, right? A referral is traffic leaving one site and coming to yours. If you don't have any UTMs attached to that, what you're going to find is everything is just going to get lumped in together, and you're really not going to be able to tell what traffic is moving the needle for you and what is not. So that's step number 2. Step number 2 was definitely on how to start with a data system using Google Tag Manager, Google Analytics, Pixels, UTMs. Now, number 3, before we run ads, right? Let's assume that we have content. What we want to do is we don't want to just put our content anywhere and everywhere. That is a point eventually. But what we want to do is we want to put our content where people already are. And what I mean by that, what we're doing ourselves and what we're doing for all of our clients is we know where people are for the most part. And that's where people's attention is. We don't need to pull them off of platforms. What we need to do is find people and meet them with where they are. So when I'm talking about that, specifically, I'm talking about Facebook and Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts, and TikToks, right? So understanding that that's where people are spending your time, why don't we make creative that is ideal for those scenarios? And so what I mean by that is ideally we're talking about videos that are shorter than 1 minute. Now, here's kind of where I'm going to blend content marketing as well as digital ads. When we're meeting people with where they are, we have to understand their behaviors. When people are on TikTok Reels, when people are on TikTok, or when people are on Instagram Reels or YouTube Shorts, they're really not there to consume long form content. They might be if they're on YouTube, right? But what we're doing is we're just dropping little bits of content to where they're actually spending time. And this is a little bit different than just putting something in their feed, right? So the feed is different than, if they're scrolling through Reels or scrolling through, even Facebook Reels. So it's understanding where people are and their behaviors. And rather than making some awesome 2-minute video or 2.5-minute video, what we're trying to do is we're really trying to chunk it out into little bits of bite-sized content where people can engage with you, which kind of leads me into a version or number 4. Before we go off and run ads with videos, what we want to do is really come down to this fourth point. The fourth point is this: we want to test our messaging with organic platforms. Think about it this way: TikTok, the algorithm is built upon trying to give people content that they want to consume. So rather than just paying money and throwing out ads online and hoping that one of them sticks, here's an alternative idea. What you can do before you start using paid ads, use that content and post it organically to a spot like TikTok. TikTok is going to show that content to multiple people. And if multiple people find that interesting, you're going to see an uptick in the amount of views it gets. You're going to see an uptick in the amount of engagement. So if you put out 10 different videos and one of them really resonates with people and one of them really connects, you should see the views and the engagement of that much higher than the others. Now, what you have just done, dear marketer or business owner, is that you have just found a good piece of content absolutely for free that the market said, yes, I do find this valuable, or yes, I do find this engaging. And then you can take that video and then turn it into an ad. So that is the beauty about these ad platforms, or excuse me, not these ad platforms. That is the beauty about putting organic content on these platforms, because what you can then do is indicate, or the metrics are going to indicate one way or another of if you can take that and actually use it as a paid ad. Now, I know not everything can work that way. I know it's not, I know it's not perfect, but what I've seen is, we will post a whole variety of either Spark ads or organic content on a platform like TikTok, and some of them just don't stick at all. And what you will find is over time that we want to use these platforms as a testing ground and then take those videos that win and then put money behind them. That is really the key. So one of sort of a business plan that we're pushing into more and more with our clients is kind of that three-tiered approach of we have to set this baseline of data and analytics. The second thing is we want to be running ads, but we don't want to run ads until we allow the market to identify what content is the most valuable. So we take a bunch of content, we cut it up for them, we put it on a whole host of platforms, and then we see what works. And then once we know what works, then we put the ad spend behind it because we know it resonates. And because we know that money moves digital marketing, we can take those videos, put money behind them, and then we can follow them all the way down to the website and see how they convert. So really, it's a really good use of sort of maximizing the platforms to kind of figure out the content that resonates the most. We take the content that resonates the most, we put ad spend behind it, and because we have the tracking elements all in place, then when those clicks leave that ad platform and then go to our website, we know how they behave. And then hopefully it is rinse and repeat at that point. So number 4 was, take the content that you have before you're running ads, go ahead and put it all over the internet, see how it performs organically, learn a little bit from it. And then if you find one that sticks, then put some money behind it. Again, this almost circles back to the very first point on nailing down your offer. If you're struggling with your offer or your language or your pain points or what's really surfacing people's attention when you put your offer out there, test a bunch of different videos. The videos are going to help you identify with, okay, do these people want to avoid pain or are they looking for gain? That's really the benefit of these video platforms that just allow us to test kind of for us without really a whole lot of guessing games. So again, number 4 is take these videos, put them everywhere across the organic platforms, let the organic platforms do what they do best and serve those videos to people. And then what you will find is winners over time. And that is 5. So I kind of just blended 4 into 5 there. So 5 is find the winners on the organic platforms and convert them into media buying. Let's dig into specifically what I mean by that. So the best ads that perform on TikTok are Spark ads. And Spark ads are essentially the boosting Facebook ads of yesterday. So what Spark ads are they are videos that live on your page, but then we just put money behind them. So the beauty behind that is that we collect all of the social proof. We get the comments, we get the likes, we get the engagement. And even if there's negative things on the comments, I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. Let people engage. People are still engaging with your brand. If somebody wants to troll you, if they want to put some comment on there, that's not a bad thing because people are going to just look through the comments. They're going to see, they're thinking about you. I wouldn't say that you need to remove the negative comments, obviously, unless it's like a giant problem. But I wouldn't, I'd kind of like push into that because I do think that, we're thinking about this as marketing and we're thinking about this as the algorithm. So the more people that engage with that, whether it's positive or negative, the algorithm is going to show it to more people. Now, obviously, if they're trolling you because it's a horrible offer and you are, I don't know, doing bad business, that is a completely different story. So obviously, I'm not talking to that. But if you get, like a snarky troll every now and again, just push into it, play back with them. I don't think there's any damage in doing anything like that. So really, so that's kind of the TikTok side of things. The same would be true for taking a Facebook post or taking a video and then making a post of it on Facebook and then boosting it, right? I think a lot of people, when you say something like boost a post on Facebook, they might think of like, that is how like unsophisticated people run ads on Facebook. And I would say you're absolutely right. But there's ways to use boosted posts, just like there's ways to use Spark ads. So if you understand what Spark ads are doing on TikTok, boosted posts make absolutely a ton of sense on Facebook. What you're doing is you're using the same ad over and over and over. It's taking in all of your social proof. It's taking all of your comments, your engagement there, and you're just using that one ad over and over and over. I think the danger of using boosted posts on Facebook is if you're putting out content that is not validated by the market, right? It's not necessarily good content. And what you're doing on Facebook is you're boosting it. And once you boost it, that thing is locked, so you can never change it again. That's the same thing as a Spark ad. But what you're doing is you're just you're going all in on these posts. And so prior to going all in on your posts with your money, go ahead and test those organically first. I think that is the main key that I'm really trying to drive home here. And so that is 5. Number 5 is find the winners of the organic platforms and convert those into paid media buying. And obviously what we're talking about here is Facebook and TikTok, Instagram, and then YouTube Shorts as well. YouTube Shorts might be a little bit different, a little bit harder because at the moment you can't run ads to people on the YouTube Shorts platform. It's just YouTube in general. So ideally what you should do, in my opinion, is go to TikTok or go to Facebook or Instagram. That's probably going to be the best way to convert those winning ads into the winners. Now, all that said, before I get to 6 and 7, I want to back up and I just want to pause. And what I want to focus on here is the importance of volume. I think there's often a question of how, what sort of content should I be putting out? Should I be putting out a quantity or should I be putting out quality? Well, ideally it's quality, right? But you do not know what quality is, in my opinion, right? You don't know what quality is until you put out a quantity of content. So I would rather try to put out 30 posts or 30 videos where if one of them is a winner, then I am happy. That's better than kind of going all in on like, hey, I've just filmed this one ad or I just filmed this one version of this and I think this is a winner. First of all, in my opinion, we should be treating everything like an experiment. And every experiment has an expiration date. So when things work, great. If things don't work, okay. We're not going to get our egos involved with this. We're just going to follow the data and follow whether the platform is, showing us what we want to see. If it's not showing us that, then we probably made a bad video. We're just not good at making content. So what we'll do is we'll iterate off of it. We're certainly not going to give up. So again, treat everything like an experiment. I think you're going to find that helps you and helps your mentality. Where you don't have to go all in. You don't have to get your ego wrapped into this. If we treat all of these videos as experiments, we know that some are bound to win and some are bound to fail. And inevitably, not everything can win, so some are going to fail. And so when some videos or some content, quote unquote, fail, that's fine. We'll just treat it as an experiment, and every experiment has an expiration date, and that one didn't work. We'll just go back to the drawing board and we'll try again. So I think, again, that allows you to have a little bit less stress on your shoulders and really understand that this is a game. This is a game that we're playing. It's a game of finding patterns. If we can find patterns, then we win. And we cannot find patterns unless we experiment. And we cannot experiment unless you're willing to put yourself out there. So put your ego aside, put some content out there and see how the market reacts. And it's a little bit freeing, actually, once you kind of get past that. So, of course, people are going to say mean things, right? I can't put this stuff out there without people saying mean things, but at the end of the day, I don't really care, right? And I think you just have to let that go too, because all they are people behind a keyboard. And the fact of the matter is you are doing it and they are not. So hats off to you. Okay, let's get on to number 6. What is the 6th tip or the sixth step to really scaling up our digital marketing. But first, we have a question. Hey, can you tell me what RSS is? I'm trying to create a podcast on Google Podcasts. I don't know what RSS stands for, to tell you the truth. Let's look it up. Are we allowed to do that on a live podcast? I think we are. So RSS, I don't even know if I'm getting the definition. Oh, really simple syndication. Okay. So what RSS is, it's sort of the standardized version of you putting out a blog or you putting out a podcast, and it's sort of the API of blogging, if you will. So what we're doing is we're hosting our blog. I'm going to use this in form of a podcast because that's what you use. So I use Kajabi, but I know there's a lot of other platforms that you could use. So what we do is we take this podcast and we host it on Kajabi. What an RSS allows for is for something like Apple Music or Spotify to then grab that podcast and pull it onto its platform. So I don't know if it's exactly like an API, but that's kind of the way that my brain is chunking this. So again, what the RSS does is it allows other platforms to come find what's already out there and then pull it in and host it itself. So you will find our podcast on Spotify at the moment. I'm not hosting on Apple, but all we would have to do is just enable Apple to come grab that. Like, we don't have to do anything extra on our end. On our end, we're hosting on Kajabi, and it is just broadcasting to whoever wants to grab this, right? People can't listen, though, on Kajabi. What they have to do is listen through one of these platforms. And so this RSS allows our podcast to be found by these platforms. And ideally, you want to put, your podcast in as many spots as possible. Why, Jason, are you only putting your podcast on Spotify? Because we are, I don't know, maybe I'm a little bit lazy. And maybe we need to fix that. It's the same, like what I want. Now I'm challenging myself because this is annoying. I should be on more podcast platforms rather than just Spotify because the content is already made. This is the same principle that I think, what number? I think it's number 4 here. If we're making content, we don't need to just put it on Instagram. We don't just need to put it on TikTok. If we film a batch of content, we put it everywhere. We put it everywhere for ourselves and we put it everywhere for our clients. Why? Because it's already made and it's not hard to just put something on Twitter, right? So if we create one piece of content for our own brand or for our clients, what we will do is we'll put it on TikTok, we'll put it on Facebook, we'll put it on Instagram, we'll put it on YouTube, we'll put it on Twitter, and we'll put it on LinkedIn. Why? I would argue that the argument is actually, why not? Why should we not put this everywhere, right? You have one piece of content, you might as well put it everywhere. The same thing kind of applies for this podcast RSS. If you are putting out a podcast, why not put it on as many channels as possible? Well, now I feel a little bit challenged because we are only putting it on Spotify, and I think we need to improve that. So, but honestly, I will tell you the truth here. The goal of our podcast isn't necessarily to just do a podcast. The goal of this podcast is to capture content. And then once we've captured this content, we cut it up and we put it in all of those other platforms that I just said. So that's really the goal of this podcast. I think some people have a dedicated podcast where they're really trying to go get listeners. That would be fantastic if we have that. I just know that our listenership is not there yet. And I'm okay with that because what I view this podcast is a chance to engage with the public, engage with people, answer questions. And then what we can do with this is we can chunk it up and put it everywhere. And that's really why we do this. So, best of luck to you on your podcast, by the way. Proc Hermanos, the Proc Hermanos podcast. There's a quick shout out to you, sir. Not sure if anybody is, tuning into our podcast, but again, the whole goal of this is to chunk it up and get content. And I will say this, like, it is absolutely working. Where we find the most leads coming from this content is definitely LinkedIn. But I think, people find us on TikTok, people find us on YouTube, but I think really where the people who are more a bottom funnel for us are just seeing us on LinkedIn, and they see us all the time. So we'll take this one video, which is probably going to be 35 to 40 minutes long. We'll find 10, 15 good chunks of content out of this. We'll chunk it up. We'll put it everywhere. I'm going to try to do some math here, which is always, challenging, but let's say that we take 15 pieces of content right now from this podcast, 15 pieces of content. We put it across 6 platforms. That's 90 posts. If we convert those videos into audiograms, that's 180 posts. That's 180 posts from really 30 to 35 to 40 minutes of work, right? And like I said, it's absolutely working. And what we will do is we'll continue to do this. So again, and then let's just circle back to kind of the points that I was making earlier on this, right? So back to number 4, we're testing this. So we'll just put out all of this content everywhere. And then if something resonates, well, then that is a definite flag to us. Hey, put some money behind this because this video resonates with people. Let's just put some money behind it. And of course, we have all the analytics attached to this so that we know where these people are coming in and what they're doing. So again, this is a machine, right? This is a machine of volume. And when the volume helps us, we put out volume, the platforms help us identify the quality, and then we take the quality and we put money behind the quality, and we have the analytics to pull to help us just identify what are the best platforms. So all right, gotta go. Number 6. So we're talking about 7 steps to scale digital marketing acquisition. Number 6 is this: leveraging UTMs and split testing to scale winners. What do I mean by that? So ideally, business owner or marketer, you have put out a ton of content. What you are doing with this content is you're finding the winners. And what you're doing is you're taking those winners, and then what we are doing when we're putting ads and ad spend behind these, sort of behind the scenes, when you are adding your URL to where you want these people to go, that's where we're attaching something called a UTM. A UTM is a tracking link that is not associated with cookies, doesn't depend upon cookies, doesn't invade in somebody's privacy. But what that does is it passes the information into our analytics so that we know how that click behaves. The click obviously is 100% anonymous. We don't know anything about them, but we do know where they're visiting, how long they stay on the page, if they convert, what events they fire. And so over time, as I mentioned earlier, what we're trying to do is we're really trying to leverage our data to build patterns. So if we have these patterns of data, what that allows us to do is then go split test, right? So we can take the content that was working. Why don't we create a different version of that, right? We could add captions to one. We could make it a little bit more dynamic. We could put a better hook on the beginning of it. And we could just run that as a straight up ad rather than having to post it and do the organic route. That is the beauty of how all of this works together. And this is a fun part that I absolutely love. Just digging in and over and over and over again. It's just like this. This is just such a formula that works every single time. You just have to give this time, right? You have to give it time. You have to give it a lot of content. And then you have to, when you give it money, that is when you're ready to scale. I think that is the key here. We're using money to scale this. We're not using money anymore to identify the winners. We're using the algorithms to find the winners. So if we can use the algorithms to find the winners, what we can then do, take the winner, split it into 2, maybe split it into 3 or 4 different versions of that. We put the ad spend behind it because we are confident that it is going to work. And then we're just starting to squeeze it to see what it's worth, right? Maybe it's a different headline. Maybe it's a different hook. Maybe it's a different outro. Maybe it's a different call to action. I don't know what it is. There's plenty of things that we could split test here. But at the end of the day, we have the data that is being forced into our analytics so that we can see the effectiveness of every single split test version. And when we see those results, let's circle all the way back to number 2. When we have that data infrastructure and we see the people coming in, now what you're doing is you're not scaling by guessing. You're just cranking up the ad spend because you know that this video already has resonated, it's already performing, and now what we're doing is we're just trying to put it in front of the right people and on the right platform. And we're going to amplify the effectiveness of that with the ad spend. So, man, I could just go on and talk more about this because I think it's fun. Like, this is the fun part about digital marketing. It is not just putting out content. It's not just running ads. What it is it's finding a pattern and just cranking that pattern for as much as possible. The client that we spend or the client that we manage the most TikTok ad spend on is a perfect definition of this, right? What we're doing now is when we started running TikTok ads, we weren't really quite sure how to best navigate the platform. And then over the last few months, we've just seen the leads, I don't want to say double every month, but it's just gone up and up and up. It's very up and to the right. And now, I think what we were spending before was something like 20,000 sort of on the early part, which is quite a bit of money. But we've routinely just looked at the data, looked at, what creative is working, double down on that creative, double down on the ad spend. And I think this month we'll be spending 60K on TikTok. So that's what I mean by scaling. I don't just mean like this isn't just some hype word. What it is literally looking at the data, making a pretty like we're not guessing on this. There is always an element of unknown on this. And there's obviously nuance and some difficulty setting up campaigns and making sure the campaign is running and the algorithms and all of that. But at the end of the day, scaling, what I'm saying, should not be a guessing game. Scaling should be a reflection of your understanding of what marketing material is working and the data to support it. If you have those two elements, what you can do is confidently put money behind it because that context has already been identified. All right, which brings me to 7. What is number 7, the 7th step of scaling your digital marketing acquisition? That is simply rinsing and repeating. That's what it is. So once you have a video or videos that you find that the market has identified as good, you've put money behind them, just spend the money until those stop working. And in the meanwhile, like on the back burner, you have all of this other content that you're testing. So like we're literally repeating the whole process, maybe other than one, right? Hopefully your offer is sound. But once you are putting out content and you've identified it and you're putting money behind it and serious money behind it, because if $5 a day is working, why not put 10? If 10 is working, why not do 100? If 100 is working, why not do 200? So long as your systems can keep up with that. But what we're doing is we're just in this continual process of putting out content, finding what content resonates, putting the ad spend behind the content that resonates, using that content as much as possible, and sort of until there's sort of this ad fatigue, if you will. And then it is in the meantime, it's finding new creative test. So by the time that fatigue is sort of starting in, we have a new layer to inject into all of this. And that's where the fun is. So yeah, that is a little bit about sort of, I don't know where my head is at as far as the 7 steps to scaling your digital marketing acquisition game. And like I said last week, sort of teasing, a lot of people are having trouble with really, there's sort of a twofold problem, right? When it comes to content marketing and identifying which of these videos is winners, like I said, I'm completely open and transparent with our own system. We go live. I do this podcast once a week, not to gain the listeners, but to get the eyeballs. I think that's important, right? We're capturing content somewhere. And so what we're doing is, we have clients that do the same thing, that will go live and then we will go in and find the best content pieces for them. We'll put them in front of folks on all of the platforms, like I said, on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, and on LinkedIn. We'll find which content resonates, and then we'll take the ad spend and then we'll put it behind it. So that is sort of the system. I mean, it is awesome because we have the data on the other side too, that we know that we can bring to our clients and partners. Be like, hey, this is what was identified. This is what worked. Can you go make creative more like this? Or maybe next time you go live, can you, have a couple of hot takes on this or an opinion on this? That's really where this whole thing gets fun, where we're not really guessing anymore. We're using the data to inform our conversations and inform the videos and the content that we're creating. So if you're looking for somebody to help you with that, we have an offer around that to help people create all of that content and then push it to all of the platforms. And then also we're working on a standalone offer where you upload your videos. We will turn it, we'll add captions, we will add transcriptions to this. We'll TikTokify it. I don't know if that's a word, but there it is now. We will TikTokify it and hand it back to you so that you can then go out and put it on all of these platforms yourself, because this is just what's working. It's nice to come on to this podcast and just kind of be able to be 100% honest with this. If this wasn't working, we wouldn't do it. And this wasn't working, we wouldn't sell it. But at the end of the day, this is working. And everybody, even existing clients that we kind of talk about this new methodology with, they're all on board. They want to try. And it's just been really fun to kind of get this feedback from the market. So that's it. That was your 7 steps to scaling your digital marketing acquisition. Thank you to those people who joined. Thank you for the comments. I do appreciate that. Thank you to all those who watch and listen after the fact and then add your comments. So if you do that, if you add your comments, throw them on the YouTube descriptions or the TikTok comments or anything like that, and then we'll address your questions in the next live. I know there was a question on CBO and ABO that I was supposed to get to today, but I didn't get to that. My apologies. So I'll try to address that in the next live stream. So I hope you are having a great week. I hope everything goes well for you for the rest of the week. If you have any questions, like I said, throw them out here. Happy to address them. Happy to talk about them on the next live stream. But I do appreciate you listening. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate your comments. Yeah, keep them coming. Everybody on the team, obviously, I appreciate everybody on the team, but they appreciate your comments and all this as well. So, yeah, be kind to one another, be good to one another, and we'll see you next week. All right, take care, guys.